Hello, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's circle of research session. The date is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. We're doing the location for the laws. First up will be the roll call.
Yeah, that is Dave,
Commissioner Kelly, staff report, resolution, planners, the further, we do have two, as of a resolution that was passed last Tuesday, two commission members, Janet Bradley and Molly Rusher, will be joining us. However, you continue to be scheduling next step tonight, so we will see them in August, and at that point we'll do sharing with the chair. First up is regular public comments. So anything not on tonight's agenda, we open that up for public comment now. We'll move on. Our first public hearing item tonight is private number STR-RN 20577, which is an alteration to an illegal resource. And we'll start by having staff introduce the project for us. And then we'll give you guys a time for that. And, the applicant ID, and then the commission will talk, and then we'll make a motion. Please for bearing with us with the crazy minutes. So this is a public hearing for 841 Yemenite Street. Project number STRRN 230677. I'm just gonna share this before I jump into the project. If there are any other members from the public attending, we'll need to get elected.
I went to training 25. I was instructed.
Oh, come on in. It's exciting. Hi.
Where was I instructed?
Right over here.
Okay.
With our waiting.
I have not gotten the note.
So can we back up for a second and can Deanna introduce herself? Tell me a little bit about her background.
Okay.
Yeah, we would like to be so far. We've said hello and we will take a roll call. And I was just going to know that you are trained based on location. We will make you and other pressure, but here you are. So
You probably were in 2025.
she's actually out of town.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
My name's Jeff Bradley. I'm up in Colorado. But many years of the transmutation and all over. An artist, not practicing. And running over involved with this healing house because I was there set up and from that. And I moved to our house with those months for folder. I'm the man that there was about 6 people along with it, and they went with the ground protector that was just on detail but I couldn't tell you the details. I'm more of a good at that. And I back for research. I worked with the art council for a while.
You around? I'm Patrick. Yeah, I teach in college. And have a research background. My father is a culinary. Back east sort of situation. I think it's really working. I'm kind of much about doing that. But I'm curious about. And create interesting ways to preserve it. Yeah, but again, it's an interesting ride.
Real quick, we have Toby's offer, another one of, she's a senior planner, she's online. And since we have an interesting audio setup, she said speak real loud and clear, and then the ones who can hear us, so we can all head once we're talking to our great grandparents. Okay. The microphone over there. It is. Okay, thanks, Toby.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I'm Katie Adams, economic system. And I also work for. Hi, I'm Marianne. I'm a freelance national and cultural historian. Got my start by working for the National Park Service, both Parks and West and international services. And my experience. But I also have experience of living here. As two communities, and, property is another level, but, so we'll talk to people and so I've also had experience for most of my business and, conventional essentially, or commercial and residential, non-commercial and ultimately. So I've always been pretty slow on helping provider and don't have to. That's when I showed to, it's like kind of arrive with you in terms of how it is. And historic, preserved things and
Decades of change.
yeah, and probably better known for these. Oh, boys. No, that's not one.
So you know that one too.
I'm Caitlin, you know me.
Yeah,
On the phone, actually. Yeah, and I've had about 9 years experience in the Wisconsin region. Everything from being on the board of the historic builders, to being with staff, and then working with the city board for 6 years, and then joining the city of Springs. October 3rd. So, we're about to review our first public hearing item, is in, Nominate Street, it's the alteration to a town for resource. And I'll try to walk through it, but essentially, we're gonna, everything runs the same. So every time you get a staff report that introduces the project to us, we hear, briefly from the applicant if they are present. The commission can then ask the applicant questions or staff questions. The commission will deliberate. The applicant has a chance to respond, and then we'll make a motion. So that's about what we were gonna get started with. So Caitlin's gonna tell us about. Yes, so this is a public hearing for project number SPRRN 230-677-841. 577.
petition is for an alteration that, according to the definition of our community development code, also requires the demolition of an eligible resource. The location has been shared to applicant as part of the instruction for Andrew Wolf and also his wife Christina here. It is an alteration of a historic resource, that's how it was submitted to the building department. And again, requiring the demolition of the entire above ground structure. They are retaining a portion of the foundation. So this property was deemed eligible for listing to our local Steamboat Springs Registered Historic Places in 2023. The assessor's build date is 1926, but could be as early as 1914, given its historical association. So it is historically important for its association with the Mount Paris mining camp and the Colorado coal industry at a statewide level. Its architectural importance is again because it is one of the Mount Paris homes, and it does truly represent some of the more modern and very modest structures that we see across this area of Steamboat Springs. The property itself has been altered. It has had an addition put onto it. Being a professional that you are and providing everything with the Secretary of Interior standards, we look at what can potentially be reversible. From that standpoint, when we determine eligibility, your principal discussion items are going to be again standard 9 and standard 10, and then duties to meet the city of Steamboat Springs historic design guidelines as well. And the criteria for approval is the alteration of an existing eligible resource requiring demolition of the eligible resource. And staff findings present that it is not consistent with the applicable requirements of the CDC or historic preservation design guidelines, and it does not comply with the Secretary of Interior standards, specifically the standard for rehabilitating as a form of treatment, which most alterations fit under. And again, this is the property. You'll see the original structure to the right, and then the addition to the left. And this is what is being proposed. And I just wanted to highlight some facts about the Mount Paris mining camp, because I think that the majority of the history of this home is rooted in social and historical importance. And so this is a nice panorama of Mount Paris. Mount Paris was about 18 miles outside of the city of Steamboat Springs. It was founded in 1914 and operated until about 1958. And it was operated by the Colorado and Utah coal company, I believe. And companies such as this would literally set up entire cities and towns for their mining and coal workers. They had their children, they supported children here, their children went to school here, they had their own recreation teams, they had their own baseball teams. Something interesting, I just think it is nice to remember like what the conditions were like for these people. Mount Paris, as noted in the staff report, was one of the most important mining communities across Colorado. So in the early 1900s, I believe it was the federal government, did a petition for coal samples from over like 70 different coal mining sites across Colorado. And Mount Paris's coal goes to the top, specifically to keep a brand new government building downtown, in downtown Denver. And so that is really kind of what drove this community to the top.
In addition to the fact that they were known for having many immigrants and being welcoming to immigrants, it was a multicultural community, which I think lends to the importance of the structure at 841. And it was also a segregated community. So you'll see at the photo on the right, this is really the center of the town. You'll see larger buildings, you'll see that we actually have a coal production plant. The view shed to the left is facing east, and they actually segregated those that were not white, and they lived on the outskirts of town. And their Black community members had their own baseball team. They attended school in different settings. Their baseball team was called the Master Brown. I thought was very creative. Top notch, right? And again, this is just kind of another beachhead of the homes on the left, and some of those ones that are segregated out. And you can naturally see the form of the houses, and mimicking the form of the house at 841. And then again, at the right, those are the homes of the white people. And I also know they were also immigrants. They came from Russia, they came from Lithuania, they came from Mexico, all over. You have school children lining up to the left, and then to the right is where they have their playground, and it was right next to their own baseball field. And then on the left, you can see their football teams playing against one another. I believe it was practice like from the class and on the right, you see the non-brown community. I don't know what the name is. And they even have their own saloon and billiards room, and it was the only location that served alcohol. And again, here is the house. You can see the form on the right. And here is the alteration that requires the demolition. So staff finds this alteration requiring demolition of an eligible resource, 841 Yamanite Street, SPRRN 230577. For the new construction of a large two-story residence is not consistent with the criteria for approval for either an alteration of an eligible resource or demolition of an eligible resource. The recommended motion is that Historic Preservation Commission denies SPRRN 230577, an alteration permit requiring the demolition of an above-ground historic structure at 841 Yamanite Street, and issues a mandatory stay of demolition, requiring the project permit under SPRRN 230577 to only be issued 30 days following the denial with the following conditions that I cut off here. Condition number 1, if the applicant and owner will work with applicable parties, including staff, HPC members, and others, to move the structure prior to the removal of the 30-day stay of demolition, the stay will be lifted following moving of the structure intact to a new location. And then number 2, that the owner shall convey any and all known information about the property and former residents to city staff or HPC. The application.
Indeed.
Oh, I think, never mind. Will you come to the podium, please? Podium.
Andrew Wolf, 841 Yamanite. Good evening. Is this my chance to speak, or what, is this a derogatory? Sure. So Karen Milkey, our architect and engineer, is also here, and she'd like to speak on our behalf as well. We bought 841 Yamanite, my wife and 3 children bought Yamanite 2019 with the intent of redoing this home at some point. We paid a price for it that was indicative of its value. It's, by some accounts, almost 100 years old. We didn't really see a lot of redeeming value. We paid, for the price of the land, and the house came with it. We made improvements to the house and lived in it for the last 4 years. And our plan, as always, was to tear it down and build a new one because it's 100 years old. I think Karen reached out to the building department and the planning department in early 2023 to inquire about this project's viability because we were going through a variance on a side setback easement. And she asked specifically if there was anything that the planning department thought that was going to be a hindrance to this, and they said no. May 10th, we applied for a building permit and it was approved. We paid our fees and promptly got a letter that said we need to add 60 days to our construction timeline, which again, May 10th, June 10th, July 10th, we're beyond that timeline. In some of your CDC documents, there's a note that says you guys will hold a hearing within 30 days of my application. And here we are over 2 months. And that right now is a hardship because I've lost valuable summer timeline. I'm going to incur winter snow shoveling during construction. I'm doing most of this myself. I've lived here 20 years. It took me that long to get here. And adding delays is going to cost me money. And I didn't budget for that at this time. So I appreciate your guys' position on this. I appreciate what you guys do. I've had a lot of fun learning about Mount Harris since you inserted yourself in my time frame. But the idea that this is going to take another 30 days to no benefit is an incredible hardship and pretty much unacceptable from my perspective. Questions? No, because on January 4th, when we started talking about it, and especially when my variance came through, which Caitlin acknowledged, she saw that come through. And if you see that picture of that house that's designed, you don't think, oh, we're going to reuse this thing. So had she come to me in March and said, hey, we've got all these people that want to share your costs and be part of your solution, that's fine. I didn't get this document until 3 days ago to understand your intent and your intent to deny and everything else. So I think it's pretty unreasonable that at this late hour in this very expensive time in the world that you insert yourself and add time to my project to no benefit. Because we all know that nobody's going to move this house in 30 days. That should have been planned 2 months ago.
We're a volunteer position that is not in charge of the timeline, so I know I understand wanting to voice it. Unfortunately, we are not in charge of this timeline.
You are because you didn't.
Already been notified as eligible. And goes through our interpretation process. So I get the timeline for that, but these folks here is that on you, we're just here to do what we were nominated by the chief justice.
Understood.
Yeah.
But you've got a policy that does not, it's reactive, not proactive.
Absolutely, and we heard what you had to say about that. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to make the timeline.
Sure. Hopefully you can just take that into account when you decide to add another 30 days to my already troubled schedule.
Yeah, understood. We're here to reevaluate your eligibility and get you moving on.
Okay.
So our concern obviously would be that Janet, I wouldn't have any more seconds on that. Is, gosh, this is such a gem for historic property in our downtown.
Sure.
No, we want
Sure.
to live downtown.
Yep.
Been here for a long time. What can we do at this important stage to maintain a Mount Harris home? Because that roof line and the building absolutely is a piece of it.
I think this is a foregone conclusion, but I think you can start talking to people who are doing variances and things that are coming through today to say, hey, because we considered that after you talked about it, it would have been neat to incorporate that. That would have been great. But we're too far gone. You know, we've got tens of thousands of dollars in design. We paid Karen a lot of money to come here and speak on our behalf and address these issues. So, I mean, you're costing us money no matter what. I just hope you don't cost me more time. Sure, could have. Proactive versus reactive. I agree, but we're too late.
Trying to mention one thing there. I mean, the term restriction is sort of about as long as we have.
Sure.
It's not us concerning anything. What we're hoping to do is preserve our path and our lived environment. And so we're going through this.
Yep, totally.
I understand. I would be frustrated if I were in your position.
Great.
And you're not the first person to come here and kind of rail on us.
I don't believe I've railed. I think I'm far from it. My wife told me to be nice, and I think I have been.
You've been very sympathetic to us, I believe, but also critical, and I understand that. And you know, there's a conversation at the city council level to discuss what our historic preservation is about.
Sure.
We're just here overseeing.
Yep.
So,
Understood.
again, sympathize.
Sure. I just, within 30 days of receipt of application, the commission shall hold a hearing. We didn't abide by that, so I don't think we can, when you don't meet the first step, and we can have Zoom meetings and we can do whatever, but the fact that this commission couldn't get together and make a decision as on a Zoom meeting or any other reason shouldn't hurt me.
Definitely not their side. Shouldn't hurt our whole community, but it will. We're losing a part of our history.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I said that when I spoke with Caitlin 2 months ago, somebody should have said, hey, get a hold of these people that want this building, work with them. This is too late in the process to have this.
Forward, thinking about all the terrible mistakes that we're repeating in life. So, you know, it's not impossible that that building could be moved.
It'd be pretty impossible to get me to get my head wrapped around playing ball.
It's a big process, but as I told Caitlin, I have probably 10 minutes from town.
And I never told Caitlin not to contact me with these various options. But when I learn on Friday, 3 days before the thing, that there are people that want this, we needed time to get this going because everything takes time. We've been paying Karen for 6 months to design this.
Right.
We should have, this is not last minute stuff.
I told her, but
I'm hearing you say you have,
Timelines.
right, so you feel for the treated by the process of the notification process and how your issues with that.
I would have been happy to oblige any of your requests or requirements. We sent in pictures. My wife did the world's best floor plan. I think we've been a model applicant, but to add more time after, you know, at a foregone conclusion is rough.
So just so you know, as a I just
Sure, yeah.
Because you might not have any way of knowing that.
Sure.
And so
Appreciate that.
yeah, I don't work for staff.
Yep.
Not.
Right.
I'm just.
Yep.
I'm not keeping exactly with you.
Right.
I'm just letting you understand where it's at.
No, I appreciate it. It's, yeah. None of us are here to get rich. We're just trying to do our best for all of our goals.
Well, and just letting you understand where I was looking at all in your process.
Sure.
And so,
Yep.
So, for me personally, I don't know if I'm talking to town. I really feel about the gaps, the missteps, and you feel for the treated in the way you started.
Sure.
Is there, I'm curious about these I was talking about. So the how to get more.
Sure. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Were you aware or made aware that obviously
Yeah, if you guys are done.
Yeah, the microphone is probably.
So I'll wait.
But I just think there's that something, right, that if anyone gone in and said, this house can be moved, because some houses can't be moved, some houses can't.
Sure, understood.
And also,
We-
you know, yes, it seems insane that, you know, a house could be moved that fast, but they can.
No, I understand. It's just,
But, you know, you never know, it's like when we had to have our wires through, they weren't thinking enough to get YPA out there for months and months.
sure.
I walked in and got them out and had moved that week.
Yeah.
But, you know,
If there was a super attentive,
so I think.
you can call me tomorrow and I'll do anything I can within the barriers of my,
Well, like, you know,
but I don't want to, if I wait another 30 days, I'm going to be less friendly every day.
Okay, I'm just saying that there could be a possibility. you know.
Sure, understood. I'm, and yet, do you want to answer to the, is it movable?
Yeah.
I mean, we had Karen and her husband out looking at, can we remodel this? And there was not enough redeeming qualities to make it really remodelable. You know, it was built okay to last how it did, but it had a metal shed roof. It wasn't built to today's standards by any means. And cutting it up to fix it to meet today's standards was cost prohibitive. We did at least briefly look at that.
Thank you. So I just want to offer a clarifying point. First, we all know that this house was actually moved to this location in
Sure. Yep.
1958. So for me, that would mean that the house is movable.
Yep.
The house has a 12-space foundation, which is ample for moving a house. Aside from Janet, who I have discussed house moving with, I have spoken recently in the last week, as this is time sensitive, with some additional contractors and developers in town. I know you're a contractor yourself,
Mhm.
who are potentially interested in assisting with moving this. And so to clarify what this motion is saying is, you have the option to work with us after this, to move this home, to eliminate that time pressure on yourself. I completely understand that our process seems proactive or
Reactive.
versus
Yep.
proactive. Our community has done a lot for historic preservation, and we're doing even more now. My role wasn't filled for about 9 years.
Right.
And so we are really trying to change this. We're trying to get in front of applicants as soon as we can.
Sure.
You know, and just to clarify the timeline here, and I think that's about all that I would like to clarify, but yes, I think it's about March that your initial variance came in. And when, you know, for example, we have some other projects that have variances and adjustments that came in earlier than March. They're still waiting for conditions to be fulfilled. You know, we also cannot control when the applicant is going to move forward with building permits.
Sure.
I always like to share with our staff and our commission, like, we're not genies and we're not psychics, and it really does take communication between both parties.
Sure.
And then, you know, while this is the first time that our APC is doing a full building permit, I do highlight no potential demolition in our written notification. So those were received in March, and then they've got a snapshot of this at the last meeting. So I just want to clarify those few points, and then before Karen comes up and speaks, just reminding everyone that those conditions are part of that recommended motion to provide that opportunity to alleviate that time sensitive pressure. And of course, that's if it can be done. We
Sure.
don't want.
It's
right?
just, if we're talking about moving a house, you know, moving mountains, we need more time than this. It's just not, I don't think it's very reasonable at this late hour. But I appreciate the idea. My wife said she'd love to walk through this house if it was sitting somewhere else 20 years from now and say, we lived in that dump for 4 years, because that's just not, I welcome anybody to come spend the night.
I mean, one thing that comes up when my house is being looked at, is the cost between paying for demolished and the cost of landfill, which is, you know, cost of moving it.
Sure.
And a lot of landowners kind of, you know, it's a little house. One house is in Denver, and it's several,
Sure.
are very busy.
Right.
You know,
And our real business too, and unfortunately, we try to get in front of them.
Sure.
Let people know,
That'd be great.
you're buying historic property.
Just
We're
know.
doing some business.
Yeah.
And that's where frustrating us for all the way around.
Understood. Yep.
What we can learn from and do better with it, I'm not too sure. Trying to shore up our game with it, and we shouldn't have to fall solely on it.
Sure.
But it has been. How much done now? So I think
Right. Adds a level of stress to an already stressful situation.
absolutely. I mean, and in some ways, you know, people come in knowing, like, informed, and they're coming up stewards, and they have to kind of
Sure.
kind of interesting design integrate, and in other times, people get blindsided. And that's why, you know, a nice little text to your realtor, be like, "Okay." Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. But-
Can we,
Please. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. My name is Karen Mulkey. I am a project engineer and co-owner of Steamboat Engineering and Design. I just have a few items I'll touch on. Some we've already discussed, so I'll just share my point of view as well, because this is my first time going through this process as well. And so as we've discussed, the major challenge for the homeowners is that they're incurring this these provisions, and that it was not brought to their attention earlier. And this is the first time I'm experiencing this process because Caitlin's position wasn't filled, and so these rules were not enforced. And so with all my 10 years of experience, I have not once had to go through this process for remodels, and I'm sure a lot of them qualified as eligible resources. But it has never been brought to my attention. So that is why this is new to all of us. But then also to speak to what Andy brought up with my correspondence with the planning department was on January 4th. I had a proactive meeting up front with the planner to make sure and I specifically asked in the email, I have it with me, if I said, do you see any reasons why the homeowners wouldn't get approved for their project? And the response was, I don't see any obvious issue with this type of request. And there was no mention of the applicability of the historic preservation. So we proceeded. We just I do like to try and make sure up front that we're not going to run into any hoops or hurdles. And so that was that a little bit of frustration there of going through the whole procedure. The clients paid us all the money, all the design work, and then finding out at the end. So that, and I know this is not your fault, but that could be something that the planning department or, and now I know for future projects, but because this vacancy was just filled, that these projects are kind of on the forefront of experiencing this. So that creates a little bit of hardship. And as Andy spoke to, they have also been delayed that extra month. And the major hardship that they're experiencing there is that this town has limited resources for contractors and for all their subs. So that it literally is like years in advance to book a contractor and all the trades that come with it. So if you miss a spot, not only does it affect the homeowners because they need to then try and get on somebody's schedule again, which could be months to years out. But it affects all those trades because they had dedicated time and now they have a gap in their schedule. So it's a delicate balance, and it's one of the challenges that our community faces. And I think that also is the reason that there's a affordability crisis in this town, because it is really expensive to keep labor here, and the schedules are so far out in advance because of that. So that's why at this last minute time that it's really challenging, because it takes a long time to get to this point. And then when you're ready to pull the trigger, everybody's lined up and ready to go. So let's see, what else do I want to talk about? When I looked online, the 841 Yamanite is not listed in the cultural resource inventory that I saw, or unless I'm missing something, I did not see it on the link. And then again, like I said, this timeframe it's stressful on them. It has a significant impact on their financial and scheduling situation. I ask that you consider an exemption for these projects that are on the forefront of this historic preservation guideline enforcement. I do understand you've been around for a long time, but with the planning department filling that position, for these projects that are going through it kind of blindsided, I'm wondering if there can be like a grace period for those projects, just because it puts them at the unfair disadvantage at the end of their project, and it is no fault of their own. And also from my perspective, it's not something that I've been aware of in the code, because the CDC doesn't, it has a separate section for it. There is this in the major modification, there's criteria for it, but and this is also probably better directed at the planning department, but it does speak to historic structures, and these projects are technically classified as eligible resources. So from my perspective, there's not very clear guidance to know that eligible, and Caitlin has been awesome at guiding me through this for this first time. But from just trying to learn from the CDC itself, it does not clearly indicate that an eligible resource constitutes as a historic structure, because the definition for eligible resource does not have historic structure in the definition. And then again, the homeowners, they have done their research. They've rented books from the library to learn about Mount Hearst homes. We do have a very strong respect for historic preservation and understand the benefits. It's more because of this stage in the project. If maybe the cost and the schedule to move the structure could be desirable or worked out, that it would have to be fast and affordable at this point. And then again, I mean, I respect the mission to preserve a link to the past. Preserving on the home on this lot does not meet the needs of the local homeowners, or at this point. Potentially, if we had addressed that from the beginning and did an addition on the back, that could have been more appealing. The challenge is that they're a family of 5 and their family is growing. They do homeschooling out of the house, so they're living there every day. They've lived in this house for a long time, and it's not meeting their needs. It's currently leaking. The roof is compromised structurally because of the leak, and it's also has some fire dangers with the electrical wiring. So it definitely is in need of improvement at this point. It's kind of reached its service life and needs to be, if it were to remain, would need to be rehabilitated, but it also doesn't address their spatial needs. So if we were to do the addition to meet the historic preservation guidelines and do it on the back of the house, the back of the house is their backyard, and it's kind of their sanctuary because it's private from the street. They have like a garden. They've got a really nice space back there where I'm sure they spend a lot of time. So that I don't know, even if we were to consider that an option now, which is kind of late in the game, I think that might not even fulfill what they're looking for and what they had planned on from the beginning. To address the leak again, when I visited their house in the winter, they had a bucket under there and it was actively leaking water, which is a huge concern to me, not only for the structural integrity, but the potential for mold growth and the health of the occupants, for the air quality. And I can actually, do you mind if I go just? It's the only thing I want to address too, I didn't get to is there is a provision in your code, in the CDC, not your code, that says if the applicant demonstrates eligible resources and it is a dangerous structure as defined by the building code, and the definition of dangerous in the building code, in the existing building code, says any, so that if there exists a significant risk of collapse, detachment, dislodgement, or any portion number under service loads, and the roof under the snow load, snow and ice loads does fit that criteria. It also, in the commentary of the ABC, refers to water intrusion due to a failure in the building envelope can lead to deterioration of the structural members because they have not demoed the roof yet, so I cannot visually inspect it, but I have seen the drywall and the leaking. I would not, as an engineer, be able to guarantee that this roof can hold up another winter because of the collapses I saw from last winter. And I also cannot guarantee that it is safe for somebody to get up there and shovel it off to keep snow load off of it. So that, because of that dangerous situation, if they, and with their schedule, with their project schedule already delayed, and needing to make sure that they stay on top of it before the winter snow load comes. Okay, okay.
And I appreciate all the information. And all this building evaluating what we do all the operations is making
Definitely.
so that's how it's come to us. So, it's the structure right now, it's really
Right, yeah, yeah, right.
So, yeah, but thank you, so for the that, might be for a free question.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify to respond to you. If the building was at, and I'll let, I'll touch him a little more on it. But if our building was at a state in which it would qualify for that, it would actually be considered for condemnation by the fire department. And it has not been yet. I would also approach that the applicant or family members don't living in it, if it were that bad. And you are correct, there is no, official inventory form or form 1405. We don't have every single property across Steamboat Springs, inventory. And interestingly enough, I know, right? But as I was doing research for this, only is one of the other known out there houses in Steamboat Springs has a 1405 form for it. So that's something we can get on. But as properties come to major administrative review, such as this one did in March, which is when I communicated that you'd be required to go through the historic preservation process, including it. That's when I'm able to determine eligibility. So that's kind of how that happened. And then I just wanted to touch on, you're correct. Most of our historic preservation code lives in our administrative duties and powers, and that's because our commission exists as delegated by the federal government. And so their powers exist somewhere else, which is why you only see historic structures mentioned, right, in a major adjustment section, you know, section 7, and not in the minor adjustment section. But if you were to go look at what historic structure is defined, you would see all of the other stuff.
No, I appreciate that, absolutely. And also I do want to touch on the dangerous to condemn the home. We did have to condemn some homes this past winter from the snow loads because they'd actually failed. But the definition in the IEDC for dangerous home doesn't, there's two parts. It can either have failed or is at risk of failing. And right now it's at risk of failing. So that's the reason it hasn't been condemned yet, is because it hasn't actually failed. It is at risk of it. Yeah. I'm sure I have. I would have to go back and look at all my projects that we've done We do about 100 a year.
So, just to give you just a little bit of background, just stepping in.
Yeah.
So, there's been Erica from, Steamboat, Texas, sitting in our kitchen doing this.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I don't want to have a misunderstanding that this just started in October.
Okay.
Someone's been sitting in that seat and it's, Erica.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Right.
We all know Erica.
Yeah, I
So
just
I
right.
just want to make sure that you all know that, like, when Patrick says, we pay this, it's because we literally, this is not, you guys aren't like in the front of it.
Okay.
This is something that is part of what we do.
Yeah. Right.
So, I guess, when you look at your building code.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first thing you get online, you pull it up, you read a lot of what it is. So it says there, like, how long it is. So I guess my thing is, as you move forward as an architect, as you move forward as an architect, that practices with other people, this moment, I really hope it's similar.
Oh,
for you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because, me, so now when I do that, I see something that's 50 years older, that's the first day, my first meeting with the owner, before, I
Right.
pull up that address, if it's 50 years older, I don't do a thing, I don't do a bubble diagram. I go in and I figure out what story is that.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
moving forward, that's just, that, I feel like as an architect on this board, that is my goal, is to say that all of us have to take really question that the real estate agents are not on board, because, that's the first time that this happens to people. This is a building that's 50 years old, and it's 70 people like to say,
Right.
right. And then secondly, all of us developers and engineers, architects, have got to just have that red flag up, because then he has to spend time to call you.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right.
and you can be like, hey, heads up, I'm gonna give you 3 schematic designs. The first one is gonna be keeping the structure in place, tearing down the living addition, where the footprint of the addition is, putting something up, preserving your garden, preserving your backyard, shoring up. And then one, just of all my schematic designs, one is gonna check every box. And your client might be like, thanks so much, what's the next schematic design?
I agree.
But
Yeah,
now-
no, I agree. And I wish I had known, but what I'm saying is, like, with all the projects, this has never come up. And I could guarantee that one of my projects, multiple of my projects were older 50 years, and this was never brought to my attention.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here
Yeah,
because I'm.
in the same, yeah, right. And so
So,
I'm just
I-
saying, it's no fault of theirs, it's no fault of mine,
No, I
it's
know.
no fault of yours.
No,
There's
that's
just a
why,
missing link.
I was
Yeah.
saying there, but there was no, that it wasn't how, that was, like my conscience was saying.
Right, yeah.
And, as a result, I had to do some real soul searching on how I talk about attention.
Mhm.
And you love this town. You love this town. And when these buildings go down, I mean, think that that's what this is about. There's no more. And your house is beautiful, but you know what? There's no sense of preservation.
No, yeah.
And, there are beautiful examples all the time of some of these Mount Terrace houses, right, that have been so beautifully restored. They're so lovely. And examples of projects that have allowed the house to be brought up to, a safe, lovely, charming standard,
Absolutely.
and also allowed, housing residents. So I guess for me, if that's what we take away from tonight, is that you practice it over 15 years, this doesn't happen again from your perspective.
I agree with that. I think I would also encourage, if there are other proactive ways to notify people up front, so that they're not in my shoes also in some future
Right,
application.
absolutely.
Great.
Share this feedback with the planning director as well.
Yeah.
And we do.
That's great.
And we
Great.
are aware that this is not, luckily I know what construction office costs.
Right.
We know, this is not a new conversation. We are working, and I want you to know, we are working. I just want to say.
Process has not been put together in a logical and sensible. And I really appreciate really brought to some even just like, like, hey, that's really cool. Why is that? It's that sort of one all around.
Right.
But the fact that you show me no information, that you have.
Yeah, great. I'm really glad to hear that. And actually, when Sally talked about the first thing we do is the code study, perhaps, and I don't know who to talk to about the GIS, but when we pull up the GIS, maybe if that could have a comment right there, of like eligible resource, a storage, or just some upfront information.
We are working on that.
Awesome.
It's been one of the first things I've been doing with Colton. We also just got 2 major grants from the state. One to do engagement with the community, including professionals, yourself, and homeowners as well,
Yeah, great.
and realtors. So it's hopefully will be cool.
Well, also, yeah, we're kind of history on this, right? So everyone I surround myself with understands it. 50-year thing, I just heard it, so I get to be there somewhere or another. But like, we all get it, yeah, right. But we can get it, but it, honestly, the collective ignorance across our community comes as a frustration once the realtors can say, once the designers can say, and then we end up feeling like the bad guy or the impediment. When it's like, no, this was something we came into, the community at large saw a lot of it, those environments vanishing, and said, we gotta look looking. So it's like, no.
And also, we're not like, because we don't care here by any means, it's just regulations in the nationwide practice. And we're part of a CLD program, which is that we can actually get people money for people to live in. And so, it's been like all communities in the way. In fact, we're at 2 years ago, most in town. Now more than across the state, let alone. So just.
Thank you.
And we're gonna chit chat a little bit, and then we're gonna move on.
But, even if something isn't older, I believe that an architect, an owner, anyone should ask that question. Is this building livable? I believe that it's such a way of installing out getting everywhere. And then there's a district point about, social issues with the town. As long as the building is livable, it doesn't matter, if you want to move it, you have to give it a building. So, as long as you can, and I think now, more and more license for it, well, that's what I say, but it has, and they do amazing things. So they do like, glue it all together, get it to the place. Yeah.
Good to know for future. Yeah, and I had mentioned to Caitlin, my only experience with moving was the Arnold barn, and it was it was a lot of money, a big deal. So that was my only experience with moving sector. So I'm glad to know that that it's easier than our only experience. So good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not on the floor. We'll call you back.
Thank you.
At this time, I don't know. Anyone here or on Zoom, we would also take public comment. So, we need to extend our thought.
our criteria. Is what we're evaluating. Which, as we saw from the statement, no, removing a building, would not be an alteration. We can't really define the guidelines to it, but I think so. These are my, why we're switching on. Here, looking at both, so one, we're looking at the permit and after alteration permit. That's why. Yeah, under the Department for Preservation definition of code, we define what we believe, demolition to be. Like we're switching to help kind of better understand that. Sure, I don't have it exactly memorized, but this is some of the roof, some of the walls, removal of a wall from the street. So that can be all of the definition.
So, I mean, kind of talking about definition of operation. Around.
You can ask questions. One is strange, something you identified as that. So that actually can be solved. Okay, but it does. So a lot of it has to do with what the building department considers to be an alteration versus what we in our preservation world in planning consider to be an alteration. We can choose for the applicant how they decide to submit a permit. And according to the building department, you can submit a permit for an alteration and after demolition has to be done. And that's where we have to have a fine tooth comb, right? To look at, well, what is this happening? That is something that we talk about. Is I believe that was apparently from the planning department, was a planner, and I'm guessing was not so. And so again, like, this is we're talking about better educating our commission. You guys wonder about those through training, like, and just like we're going to do education outreach to our community, there's a certain level of education that we need within our planning staff as well. And planning within our building department. And so slowly but surely we are getting that. Like, I mean, things are a lot different than they were in January. And I think that, that would be a great point for them have those in there, but they weren't necessarily working with the city there alongside city staff day in, day out, right? Yeah. So I think if you have any more questions about how the process works, I would really a great opportunity to really get into that. So right now, I just want to focus on what's the eligibility for it. Meet the criteria or should make a motion that includes the recommendation for the owner. It includes recommendations for the owner to allow the staff to discuss moving it. They don't even have, the owner doesn't even have to write it, but they have a conversation about moving it. We don't have any discussion for today, but we will get into it. How the application are by city staff.
No, I don't like us being that close to that. Honestly, I have no, I see no rationale in delaying things for. How's it going? I mean, just because it doesn't meet the criteria, that means that we have to actually deny it or there is a class violation. And, so I personally, think I don't see any rationale in prolonging what's going on. I'd rather try to find something to harmonize and salvage or retain, or maybe miraculously, if it is miraculous, you think it's a weird thing to say. It's not to me, it's weird.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest parts of it is it's the absence of odor.
Right.
You know,
I'm so sorry, but like, we're not gonna solve that right now.
well, I'm just saying, the word being
But,
annoying, I think
hey,
it's more up there,
yeah.
you have a single.
I think staff can have a conversation with the owner, which might include you, which would be awesome. But right now, again, because on that note, I would have said this to you before the meeting started. It's probably, but, in the world of city government and commissions, if the commission does motion today, something similar to recommended motion. And you will likely want to recuse yourself from that vote because it could hypothetically not be a biased vote if you would be getting a benefit and potentially establish how to move the vote.
Not really, it's been possible.
Right. But we have to, so we have to do things by the line, so. See how the line is good.
I'm just putting it out there, if you want me to find out, if I have to, I can call, that's all.
Okay, we'll let
And I don't
staff
think you have the
have
right
that
to put it, I don't care either.
Yeah.
So, I'm not dying to put that house on my property.
Well, we'll let you, I feel that was going to be agree if you. That moves forward. He was absolutely right. But we're just, I just got it speaking, and I think we're saying is, and have been talking about moving. So we're saying that we would not delay 30 days if they just. As the recommendation stands, saying that basically when an actual agreement is in place, right? And the house is legally passed. And I think it works with that. I mean, we all agree with Colorado, it stands really well. Then we would lift the 30 days stay if we did that. And we did. But since that's not in place right now, we would go ahead with the, with the condition. Because essentially, we don't know, and the alteration permit is for this one. Which wouldn't be. Correct, our code is qualified as a capital, which is why it is housed under our section in our code. Not going to be removing the entire structure. We might just be demolishing 50% of the roof, and it still qualifies for a 30-day stay. Right. I think we're getting close. So everything that's up there. Why? Number one. Prior to removal of the Would that, would that be more photographic or?
Specifically, I was so based on grade, based on pictures and the floor plan. But as Ian and I were speaking on the phone, he's rattling off all of these wonderful historic facts that I didn't have write down. And like, he really like this, but we don't know if so and so was born there. And I'm like,
Something like a report.
yeah, even just kind of like any like oral history that's been passed down about the property or like anything.
I would be,
Ancestral stuff.
I'd be entirely facetious that we don't, there's no Casey Warner had a first kiss there or whatever. There's, I don't have any of that, is my point. So the Morelands owned it before us. And
But you did know it was a Mount Harris. So any information, even if it would be awesome.
We just ask for before things get torn down anyway, like. We just got rid of that.
Part of there is like, can we just have the funky nature of how it's done today in order to be able to work together to find some solution. And while the operation doesn't meet any of the criteria, again, I would see what the purpose is. Allowing you to know.
I mean, I would really like this, that, something in order to have planning session, I would love to see images and specifically. That's which is not personal, but I really hope.
When we talk more like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, when I'm talking about the applicant and the architect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really similar to that wonderful government Michael Finn who came before us, 924 Boulevard. Because the same concern, he's like, it's just what you know. Right. So like, this is part of the hoops that we are jumping through, and it's not gonna be one example. You're gonna hear a second example of probably.
Did you identify all houses
Well, there is no now, which is I see, you know, like we kind of, because our kind of struggle with so much that when there's something like this, it needs to be given like, hey, this is the thing here, heads up, pay attention, you know, here's the packet, here's the bullet points. So
that's a job anybody.
But there's also a lack of inventory.
we're working on it, we're looking at it, but it's one of those things, unfortunately, like targets, you do a lot.
There's new houses every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So,
it's true.
educate, well, if we could give the incentive to the people who are selling these houses, that would be one thing, like, you would think, you have it on the, you know, on the banner, your house is 50 years older, just like Patrick said. It feels like, how do people in the town not know that? Like,
So going back to motion, I'm from one, I would, just, the only thing I'm interested in considering in this conversation is, it's worded that if the structures move prior to the removal of 30 days stay, I think that I would like to stop that and not require the building to move. But we will be made some recommendations to determine that it can't. And so.
As a reminder, our code requires us to impose a 30-day stay of demolition unless we can, unless you do an DCP and we do my staff findings and the applicant through their presentation can confirm that they had a financial hardship or a severe structural hardship. Right. So that's what you need to report. Yes.
We didn't report, right?
Yeah,
So that's why we can't do what Commissioner State is proposing, which is, can we work with you? I still think this is, I just thought, and to be honest, the way the applicant has it, we're treating the process well, but I consider this. Yes, the code is a code, and the opinion and the process are not AI, and they can make a decision about how well we think the code or the process is done.
What we're reviewing isn't actually the code or, the process, unfortunately, but what are you talking about? That's not
maybe. We're not doing the code, the process, or the guidelines, those are in place. We just have to apply those to the situation so that we're full of everything. So using how it feels is fair. So we look at the criteria and we apply it.
I'm using my report, report situation.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, oh, our documentation. Did I not say it provide well, I'm saying, careful what you're reviewing, because what we're reviewing is the criteria and the strategy. Okay, and the code is correct. The code is just there. I'm just doing a little bit. And so is the title here. So right. If those, that is the story behind the application. But what we're about to make a motion on is A or A. But that's the rule. What why what they have the code standard or something.
Can I clarify one, that by default, when you start with the alteration, the criteria, that we have no choice but to say, like, conditions and request.
That's correct, that is, unless they can prove a hardship assessment, would be up to you all. Or unless they can prove that it's a dangerous structure. But again, I know that you all review on my house week.
Yeah.
I'm just letting.
No, it's fine, we've got a licensed professional engineer, keeping an eye on that,
Yeah.
At the,
Just for the next, I just want her to know that even though you're a professional, you guys were living, and I do have it in there. Okay.
and there might be issues that are really root in the document, my wife. Yeah, that's
Only it's up to 20 usually when we see that written report, and those that we provided in the application. I think we have the ability. The preserving the whole house is always going to be a financial impact, because the buying a house for $1,000 square foot downtown, and it's going to be a hotel. So it's really hard, I think, to do what you're saying, is to say, this is not, to say this is a financial hardship, because, God has built a house. It's like ownership, and it's not just you, I mean, there's all these other people who come because it's a hardship, then you have to kind of pull it back and say, well, the market is like the market is, sorry, God, I built a house and like maybe kind of, so I mean, not that I'm veering either way, I just want to make sure that like moving forward is the minimum and as they get reported to other streets, that some of the hardships are real and painful, but it's, what a hardship is, on paper sometimes it's harder to pull that apart.
And I guess, from my perspective, I'd like to say a couple more things. Number one, I think we demonstrated financial and engineering structural damage, safety, life safety. We're not moving out of it. It didn't work for us, but as Karen said, the roof leaks in the middle of winter, which, again, maybe real leaks, whatever. It's not in a position where you have to pile on to the uninsured home. If you guys deny and have another 30 days, my situation, I guess I would be less likely to want to work with a community member, but if she calls me tomorrow and says, I'm bringing the house numbers over, let's see if it's being, I'm happy to work, but I'm not getting the bulldozer over there tomorrow. But I also don't want to have an unnecessary bureaucratic delay in an already troublesome process. So, should you choose to deny me and have 30 days, I can look at that and I'll do it that financial hardship. But I promise that when the number calls me, I'm not expecting how to look at it. Why would I not?
So,
And I'm trying to provide it.
I don't feel that.
Right. And I'm trying to start a solution to where we're at.
I think where he's definitely from.
Doing great.
I'm like, you know, hey, and I like, you put that house on a piece of land and put them on,
Yeah.
I just like, we go on.
I'm not against that, I'm not against preservation, I'm just against the time frame and how the process is involved, that's all.
You guys have discretion, so you have permission not to avoid it.
What qualifies as economic hardship? You are not making financial gain by owning the property, but it is costing you money because it is unfair. So.
We'll find out. There's a lot of your roads to dice. But I got a letter that said it was going to be at 2 months of my tax rate, not another 7 days ago. So I appreciated that. I was a reasonable applicant. I provided everything in a timely manner. And I didn't get the same amount of commission through whatever reason. And I'm not faulting you for that, but I did my part. So I hope you don't add more time to my timeline, costing more money. That's my request. But we were supposed to. If you got the packet more than 2 days ago, you know exactly what we're doing. So. I can't. So that's fine. I'm just telling you, I'm not going to take a phone call. But you've heard that I hear it though, not. I demonstrated hardship through a costly situation. And I'm hoping you, because you're not able to time frame, I don't get further delay. Adding another 50 days from now, puts me in 90 days, 100-day category, which is unfair.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I just have to. Yeah, we're trying to do that, but also I think we're in deliberation, so it's not just a question of. Sorry. But I agree.
But if we just put in the conditions, do what we signed up to do, then we're not going to get compliance to try to preserve valuable documents in court. My hope is could find that resolution, and that's where the conditions are set. It seems like we are by default required to go by the recommended motion, and we're hoping to offer an opportunity to relieve that
Right.
through discussion.
Which that 30 days could go away, of course.
And if this is an hardship, I'd love to.
Oh, yeah, we can,
So Miriam's point of the fact that there was a question asked by the so, I, and I interpret it that way, that we feel like that would, even though it's, exactly, not, that you're saying that because the process fell down early, or days. And for the COVID. I think that there was clearly some internal oversight by our planning staff in January, during view of the date of the email, January 5th. And in March is when I became aware of this. And from the second I became aware of this, I communicated to the applicant and to the owner that they would have to go to the eligible resource and that they would have to go through our historic preservation process. Specifically, I took a section of the code in there. Not too far after that, I actually spoke with Karen one-on-one about this and about another property, I believe. When you called me to ask about that. When we got it, the letter. Okay, so we have time frames in place, and I don't send the letter out, those time frames are in place by our planning staff. That doesn't just allow our planning staff to review things. Even if it's a planning application for an adjustment, we have engineers review it, because fire department review it. Like, there are a ton of reviewers depending on what the application is. And so all I can say is, from when I became aware of this, I communicated that it was an eligible resource. So the applicant has the ability to look up what that is in our code, right? They also have the ability to look up what the historic preservation commission is and what our duties and powers are, which outlines this entire process, including the 30-day stay of demolition and including the opportunities for hardship.
So when we switch to the building department say, you know, this is a single house, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that.
So they do a planning, most people come to the planning department first. The building department is actually with the county, and the county does not have regulatory oversight over historic preservation. So they're not going to say anything. And building permits move really fast, right? And so that's why it is so hard for applicants after they've spent time and money, and not just with structural engineers, with the planning department and with architects. When they get to the building permit stage, and that's the first time I see it. With this project in particular, it wasn't that way. It came through the planning stage. But again, sometimes, you know, I would say folks, this project moved a lot faster than a lot of their neighbors who went to the building permit stage, but they were already very far along when they applied with the planning department. Yeah, that way. The same as every single of that applicant that comes and has a 30-day stay of demolition, if they feel that they're failing or their report is crooked or.
I think, or still trying to see, where is that? I wasn't even aware of that until today. I'm sure. That's what I read like your comments. I'm gonna and they will say, even if I did know that, I do not feel it would have changed my staff finding or my recommended motion. Yeah. From January potentially, but as it stands from when I got it in March, I would have found that out before writing the staff report. It would not have. There are many times where I'm sitting at my computer and as soon as my first stop is up and someone has a question about how, and I'm like, whoa, that's the thing. Why didn't I write that earlier? And so it was really that internal education and like, I've been working on it really hard. So, process to get a good help. And I don't know what's going on. Maybe it just really works for me. The process is no, I don't want you to record history. I don't want to be the one to play. Mountains will demolish, aspect, one able to.
Well, that's why I'm really very confident for this. Oh, well, that's why it's one of the times common ground. But I also feel it's like, okay, if we do our due diligence and what we try to do, then our meeting number can comply with what our end goal is. And that's now we're getting a little bit like, it's then, But no one wants to do wet blankets for the entirety of the process, so they realize it, it's like,
In the process of defense, our staff has been great about testing the safety and cultural inventory for the property, and everyone didn't have one. But I am the only staff person that's in the current eligibility. And like January is not very far off from like, we started this new wave within our department of support preservation and like informal learning with our staff. And so I feel that we have done our best, and I also think we need to consider how far they were along. in the process. My information were able to pull and flag it, but that's not enough time.
That's like it's such a good conversation.
Sorry.
So you know, I that welcome to the community.
I know, so I'm like,
It's really short because I think we want to be also very respectful of our next applicant's time. They're like children here. I don't know where they're at. There you go. All the children here. But it is not enough time, and as Patrick was noting, earlier, most communities have 120 days demolition, some have 6 months days of demolition. We used to have a 90-day stay of demolition, that was repealed in 2007. So, as you'll hear later during my very first staff update, it is like number 1 or 2 on our HPC and staff goal. The workforce changing, which is the second grant that we got, not the first one. The second one will actually set some recommendations of change that, which is wonderful sometimes, but then not if you have to wait 140 days. Yeah, so
to all this house, you know, before you want to go to the piece of property, then you need to get moving, and, you know, all this information is given way.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that is something that our agreement will pay for doing. Technically, we're required to notify the owner of eligible resources annually about our program. And we'll be extending it to owners of businesses as a per holder. I put together a list of a lot of properties.
you know, I think that's really something.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's
Well,
up to somebody.
The thing is, you recorded the clip. Document that together, the first thing that on your entire guide is you have to get the phone code. And that's one website and two clicks on the property. You toggle back and forth, all the information, you know where to go, and everybody. So that, because design professionals don't know that 50 years is a very good problem. But two, a quick way to do that is what said, where when you toggle, it goes flashing red, 50 years, you know, call this number. If you don't know what 50 years means, do not proceed. You know, I just think that that quick, and you can every time, once you get the knowledge for it. So there are ways, I think, that we can stop this process from being so dragged behind.
Well, and blindsided. You know, I mean, blindsided.
Sorry, to share again, this is exactly what I didn't want to spend 45 minutes on, which is what we spend time on at every meeting, because it's a problem, not because of you guys, but like, we're here to make a decision. So I'd like someone to say something and because, yeah, definitely a worthy conversation, and we can be okay. Honestly, it's like, and getting you on board, but right now, yeah. We don't only want that paper.
Yeah.
If I'm making a motion, then do I modify the motion to what I think the motion, or do I do this motion and then we vote, you and we'll vote on it? Okay, so if I read this, no, you do, okay, so I'm just gonna clarify this. If I read this and we decide, it says that they have to, number one, the update on, yes. We may take this. So I'm not gonna change the motion, I just wanna make sure that I'm not saying something that I'm not. So it doesn't matter. So I can vote however I want. Yeah, okay. I don't have to vote, you can modify the motion if you want. Yeah, I'll read the motion. Okay, so just for the meeting, that this is the motion that I will vote up or down. Okay, got it, sorry, thank you. Okay, recommended motion, Historic Preservation Commission denied SPRRN 230577. Requiring the demolition of the above historic structure at 841 Maryland Street and issue the mandatory safe and mission from the project under SPRRN 230577 to only be issued with the following. This denial is the following conditions. Number one, that the applicant will work with applicant parties, which is that HPC members and others, to move the structure prior to the removal of the 30-day stay of definition. Then will be lifted, following moving structure impacts to implementation. Number two, the owner shall convey any and all known information about the property and former residents. Discussion on structure.
So the stay is listed once the house is moved. And isn't that
It
what
just
it's
says
for?
work with,
Right, so how,
so it's actually will have to. I'm sorry, I'm not, but if the motion were to say 30 days
or it was prior, or 1,000 prior. I think that's what it says. Okay.
Oh,
That's how I
I'm
read it.
there. There you go.
The way I see it is like, we are defaulted to follow procedures, but we want to offer conditions for which to be unfortunate. In hope that we can work together for options, whether it's movable, knowledgeable, whether we can document and put the answers.
That would be work with. With good intention. I think it's better for us to say it would be following. That would be another.
I would imagine, yeah.
Why would you say that?
Following the camp.
Well, I would say, perhaps. It's only because yeah, she's making mistakes. I said we're not using them, and so. Then I don't have to say it, but I know I'm trying to. That's the side when you look at the I may have the terms with faith. Yeah. Yeah, and that's. No. Okay, I was like, oh. Okay, sorry, then I get the.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the question I have.
She just
like,
can't-
where's my
I was like,
role?
you cannot vote, but you can be part of the conversation. Okay. That's fine. I'm trying to not leave a possibility. Okay. I misunderstood. So I'm going to go back one day. If the applicant on slash I know, so work with an acceptable party. That, you know, there's another. Probably not the right. But I was like terrified of that. That thing, that if we vote thumbs up on this, and they have tomorrow, 40 hours, if they were to find that they can't meet it, then they still can proceed without waiting 30 days. They just have to, in good faith, work with staff, HPC, and others. That is within the realm of what they feel before. And they are the people who are who decide on that. So if the structural engineer comes and says, you know, once I do pull the drywall out, if you said that you, and maybe some something based on that in drywall. If they do set up to get into there, and if it can be moved, or it can't be moved, that's how we decide. We would, it would, so just like, I would say we would naturally have their report come forth, and then we have likely a professional, house mover or a professional structure mover also look at it, of which I have been in contact with one. Because we need 2 points of evidence, right? Like right now, they're already telling us they don't believe it. So. Providing evaluation. And who pays for this? So it's typically a shared cost. I think they already paid for a lot of money. Right.
So typically, the party who may wish to have the fee structure go to their land would pay for this. There are also some funds available within the city with the. for the, And I'm going to consider the report not to be for. Again, that's why I'm saying like within the space, right? And this is another thing that, this is a wonderful example for us to share with decision makers, like they're being cut off. You know,
You know. Or, you know, just pay for that. Whoever.
I personally wouldn't pay for it.
Well, I mean, if we don't put the condition in place, then there's just say it's demolition. We're just providing an opportunity for it to live in the future. Right.
I want to be clear of what, I just want to be clear on when they walk out of here and they have, who they call, who do they pay, and how quickly can they go. Because I know that we're trying to, there's got something very convoluted, and we don't want to break all of our own rules because we're that for that. Right. But on the other hand, what I think we should make sure we do is give people something that is concrete and actionable. And so. Okay, all right. And
Remember, like, there's this new thing on the way, it's not active. It's an investigation, right? Like, it might not be active. Yeah, but that doesn't mean, if it's not actionable, that doesn't mean that. I mean, it depends on in the state how we all, right, work together.
yeah, and because we pay for the person who is gonna do the report. Okay, okay, we don't. Okay, yeah. We're not, in no way, shape, or form on record, we're not saying we have to let people go. Like, it's every conversation that we have, whether they're typically their costs, right? The person who's moving the house to their new site is going to pay for what needs to be done in terms of the moving of the house, AKA, it's movable, right? And where the shared cost comes in, a lot of times, is the funds that are saving, not doing, not, doing expenses to be, so that was the private side, and then I think that the seven. So it's kind of like.
I just think that, we've all studied and learned more about your system than we ever thought we would. I'm not saying it's broken by any means, it's been challenging and rewarding in some of the learning stuff. Caitlin was good enough to provide us with what the hardship exemptions were, and I feel pretty strongly we demonstrated through your code that we have done the diligence. Like I said, I'm happy to work with the team members who want to inquire on moving the structure, but adding more bureaucracy to this last 30 days seems unreasonable. If you're willing to take a flyer on me and say, okay, we trust you're going to work with us, I will hold up my end of the bargain, but adding another mandatory 30 days when we meet tomorrow and realize that something's good or something's better, we can't find anybody to do this.
Yeah.
I can do my own demolition
Okay, yeah.
because I'm a contractor, so I don't have some of the costs that other people have. So deriving an economic benefit, which is in your code, it's different for me than somebody who can't do all phases of construction. So I could demonstrate that tomorrow, but I don't feel like the mandatory 30 days. I feel like we've demonstrated hardship again. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Nonetheless, we still have to put together a motion, and we're really trying to make it so that we, but also that we're following. So, District Preservation Commission denied SPR seven and alteration of the property demolition. Above down for structure 841 down there. Demolition prior to project under SPRR. The only you look at the details, so it's usually upon the two parties coming to an agreement, on the board. Please the owner shall avoid any and all non-legal former residents. Here we go. So. You can. Or you can move. I'm sorry, I'm still not clear on what. The good code, and there's some, we always talk about that. That number one, what is required of them? It's basically putting it in the hands of staff. And the owner. If we look at you guys to work together in good faith. To be kind to understand. But we are on the overseas. And it's based on if you decide to do it. Which is the most important part, right? Once there's an agreement on the part of the. I know that we're trying to all get a thumbs up on something here and have everybody be happy, but I don't want to do something that is just really cheap. So bring it down. Okay, that's, do we vote now, that you read it, or do you have to do that? If you have something you want to change, so that you don't understand or you can make it clear. I think if you have issues with the motion on the table. Right. So I would like to second the motion that was previously read by Commissioner. And now we'll vote on why. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, my
It doesn't have
goodness.
anything to do with that, whether I care or not. You could potentially use it as a topic. I know, we'll get that, because I have a question too.
Okay, whatever.
Um. So, yes, because I do not feel any hardship. The commission's requirement of what constitutes. So, I know the and all of the different on this commission, that's really the legislation. I'm gonna go. They're making something back in January that allowed the designers and owners to pivot away from where they were so that they weren't. No, more than that. I mean, the 30-day denial is not our, I believe in most of those.
Well, then,
Or even nine months not better. So,
I can
but I
make a
don't
motion.
want to make an additional motion.
You have the power to waive it.
The,
For the day.
condition. No, you could waive the two conditions, waive the condition, but we can't waive the 30-day rest of the code. Only if they, unless,
So this is the question, you let it take it. That must be approved by that.
we can, we're not in that position.
You wait for the days if I want to make this, my
30 days is the code. In an effort, the reason the 30 days exists is an effort for the commission to work with the homeowner to. Well, that's not what's on pay though.
Not enough for us, but it's too much for them. And it's a recurring issue. So you guys have to approve or deny.
Okay, I'm gonna ask if everybody sitting on this side of the room can try to resolution, if we do have to adhere to public process in the Robert's rules. And I think we adhere beyond that just a little bit, even me speaking right now, adhering beyond that.
So if you know that, like, it's denied, so what does that mean?
So I guess my big question is, if the recommended motion is just read as is without the conditions, what would that look like? Because typically I don't divvy it out and add additional conditions saying, oh, when you work with us to move it. And almost in every case that we've had, there are scenarios where they have that conversation with the staff ahead of time. And there's no discussion of it being before.
So I think it was clear, it was that listeners thought by voting no, they were, moving the 30 days. Is that not true?
Well, what is the point?
Well, it's in our code, so it's, the way that our code reads is actually every application that is not approved by ECC shall be approved 30 days after they are asking to get your approval, it's 30 days later. Yes.
Because of default, default legal.
And also, like, it said that 30 days was like 50 days ago or whatever.
Which is not necessarily true, if I may break this down really quickly. Our meeting was supposed to be on June 12th. It was rescheduled for June 26th. This project, I wouldn't have been able to bring to the please come and submit your building. I typically require a month. Because it's, and that would have brought them to 7:10. And unfortunately, we had a staffing and a seat shortage, and we had to move the meeting. So I think we could have held a meeting, but we wouldn't have the forum, and then that would have been, it would have been put out until August.
So we're unable to actually.
It's also like.
can wait, unless you go to favor. You can wait the 30 days if you believe that the applicant has met either part. Another way to do it would be to approve the permit, but then it would be following the secretary to get ready before. Okay, so we can take want to move it forward, our planning board, which is also going to come under consideration during our PLC review. And we'll be on the first page. We are, that was one of the topics that we were going to address back in 20. Right. But I still feel, commissioners were those know, we feel more better than they did then. I just guess. It's not hard to do. It's not just one time, not just paper. I don't have anything, right on fortunately, that was not in our code. Right. Also, we can inform them with other attorneys involved.
I think you're actually. That's probably practice.
Mine is one of the last meeting. I would like to motion that is Thursday, they did a motion, the hardship, and he was the only one to that, so. But I think the motion needs to be like, needs to hold rather than just say.
So then basically, one would move, if the clerk makes the commission,
Deny
yeah,
the permit, but exempt the 30 days. Because you feel that it felt a procedural. I guess the only thing is, vote is out there. The vote is no. I couldn't recap and say. Okay, you know, no vote. Say the motion is denied and. We don't. Right. So
home, when I heard your no comment, you were affirming, you were letting know because of hardship. Therefore, it's not only criteria for looking for you to stay, based on the vote, not on the you to go away. Okay, now. That said, it is going to be honest, always, the applicant and the owner begging, please do continue to have some building conversations. It sounds like there could be silver lining in here. So, and maybe we can find and being honest about all. It happens so much.
Okay.
I'll spread the message about the Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Milestone.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
We even have to, like, figure out to get the seven. Mowing it down, that's part of the building. Don't want to lose it all, right? So that's part of life.
So, and the last one was to do everything, so, yes, we aren't used very often, but there's downtown, guidelines for the rear building. And so, we're gonna move on to that with. So, next is our next public hearing. ULC, same layout, but this one we're doing.
Yeah, so I think that now that we understand there are many internal oversights when it comes to shore preservation and the relative planning department, this also fits under that. So technically, our planning director made the decision to have HPC review a major adjustment prior to a board of adjustment hearing. Typically, HPC is not an optional reviewer, that will be changed in our PPC. There are alternative approval for criteria in our major adjustment section of the PPC, of our development review section. Oh, sorry, I need a break. Well, I mean, you guys can take that as a review anytime you want. I don't need to yell.
I hope,
I got up in that water. So basically, we have alternative criteria for approval for historic structures in CDC section 718E. That criteria for approval has not been applied by our planning department for many, many years. We got the red flag a few months ago, and now we're using it. So it came up from one of our planners with a different project, a project that they decided to actually revise their plans, luckily, and also involved in that project. So they wouldn't have to go through the major adjustment. So this is not the first time that there's been an internal oversight with the planning department. The planning department. Yep. So we got the red flag and someone said, oh, the way our code reads, any structure that is over 50 years of age has to go through the alternative criteria for approval for historic structures. we had an internal discussion with our community staff, and we decided to interpret that in the eligible section. So we're not making every single homeowner who has a house over 50 years of age go through this process, but the alternative criteria specifically is based upon having historic character defining features. Not every house over 50 years of age has historic character defining features. This house, however, I determined to be historically significant for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is because it took quite possibly, if you look at the original home here, be a mass terrace house. We have documentation that most of the homes were moved to the same street, and there are only 3 houses on the street that represent the same, I would say, thought box form, right? The other house is somewhere in my category. I noticed that. In addition, I was kind of moved by what you have said, Sally, and what you have said, Marion, in our last public hearing about retaining scale and size of homes. And while what they're proposing does not significantly increase the square footage, it does significantly subtract from the form and scale and size of the original. So again, this is a major assessment requiring the alteration of an eligible resource. The applicant is to go engineering and design fees related to the trust, and if there's a request to expand and enclose an existing port and to build a 3-story addition at the south elevation. They're also building a deck. So the historical importance is that it is representative of structures associated with post-World War II neighborhood development. It accommodates the increase in residents in the greater nation physical space in that post-World War II period. The neighborhood itself, again, in addition to the spring, was replatted and subdivided post-World War II neighborhood. Almost every single lot accommodates space for a house with a garage, which ties into it and representative of the onset and outcomes of the post-World War automobile era. And then both of these historical associations do inform changes in the land use as seen in the subdivision. So again, this home was built in 1948, and the additions were put in, sorry, 1949. And the additions were put in place in 1968. This property does have an architectural inventory form for it, Form 1405. The inventory was completed in 2008. At the time in which it was completed, those additions, the addition of the garage underneath, the addition of a covered front porch, and then that modest addition to the side in the rear were only 4 years of age, which means that they should not be considered for eligibility, which means that they deemed this home to be ineligible in 2008. As we know, in order to maintain our status as a certified local government, we're required to survey property. And so when I looked at the house in terms of eligibility, in my opinion, I use that as an eligible resource, because if I were to look at that home today and look at the addition of a covered open front porch, a garage, and a modified addition, I believe all of those would fit in with the Secretary of Interior. And at this time, they do retain significance in their own right. So this is the picture that is currently, and again, I'm going to ask that applicants speak when we bring applicants to the floor. I do have a picture right here that is of the current picture that Karen sent. So as you can see, they have reconstructed a portion of the roof, which we know is completely allowable in short preservation terms. This is the picture that is on the county assessor's website, and often most of those aren't accurate, but I also wanted to show some of the changes that have been made. And so right now, the approval for criteria is that the restoration or rehabilitation relates to an reasonably necessary to permit the restoration or rehabilitation of a previous condition of historic significance or historic period of significance to the building. Staff's analysis was no, that is not consistent. The modification or expansion has been designed to preserve the historic character, defining elements and defining features of the building. Staff's analysis was no, that is not consistent. Major adjustment is the minimum necessary to fulfill the proposed need of the applicant. Yes. Major adjustments will not be materially detrimental to public welfare nor injure the property. I had a hard time with that one. But I said, yes, that's consistent. And I did have a hard time with that one because it's about taking people versus taking people at home in terms of its historical importance. But I had to interpret the code how. And so just to expand on that a little bit here. So the first one, restorations or rehabilitation. I've already read that to you. We have to look at two periods of historic significance here. 1948, looking at preserving that, and then preserving the 1968 edition. And in my analysis, the work does not restore or rehabilitate any previous condition as it relates to the historic significance of the property, and it does also not bring back other periods of significance. That findings, sorry, can you read that one, please? Can you read the last sentence? Exactly. Yep. That findings is based on analysis of all work proposed. It is not the operation. So as we'll see in the future proposal, and I'm sorry, I have a Zoom bar over my sentence right there. We got the major adjustments in for only work being done for the most site setback. So that's all that the work adjustment is going to do. But we have to review this as the entire proposal, right? Which does show a major addition. We talked about it at home. And again, just restating what it is we will be evaluating. So that brings us to modifications or expansions. In the applicant justification, this state and highlight that the original 2008 architectural inventory form states that the alterations made in 1968 deem the property to be ineligible for listing to the local register, and that the original architectural importance is not being significant to the structure's original rectangular to rectangle plan. There we go. Staff analysis is that the additions do, or the additions are being significant now because they are over 50 years of age. I've already explained that. And that the modifications do not actually retain the rectangular shaped front gable plan. The proposed alterations do not retain elements of the defining features. In my staff report, I go into more detail about how I can use it to better meet our statutory changes in local guidelines. You know, I think we're all aware at this point it's the financial target to the applicant. It was the time. So the porch enclosure, one is never enclosed porch, and the porch needs to be enclosed due to safety concerns, which Aaron will explain this, it is a safety concern. Porch enclosures would convey openness, and so my suggestion was that they added a small window. And that they also retain some of the architectural features of the open porch, such as the space of the railing, and there are ways that you can differentiate that with new materials and with old and still enclose that porch. Roof lines for the westernly and southerly edges are heavily altered. You will see that in the drawing. The proposed two-story addition to the south repeals the model 1968 addition, which does have a differentiated roof line from the 1949 structure. And then the front door relocation. It makes it actually really never appropriate to relocate the front door on a historic structure. But again, I tried to resonate here with what was going on, and if they were going to enclose their porch, they're also saying at their front door. I mean, they have a garage underneath the front of the house, and so like, you're not gonna like walk up the steps where the garage is, right? And I also wanted to acknowledge that with the front porch addition, the front door is a little concealed from ground level at the front. And what is really visually prominent that does remain in the design is the side staircase. And so kind of my recommendation was to work to retain some other historical features of the house and then so this is the existing condition north elevation. Proposed conditions, so you'll see there, building access, which, as you know, access, door structure. And then, we have the existing condition for the south elevation here. And this is where it's a little confusing and you have to put on your architectural hat. It looks like everything is staying the same, right? But on the right side, you'll see that it actually pops out the home, and replace the windows. They've also done some, I'm sure, draft updates, right? They must be. But they have also altered that roof line above the door replacement. So I did make a suggestion in my staff notes, change where they've altered that roof line, you'll see it in, so the entire roof kind of shifts to the left to accommodate a flat roof over that front door. And then also in this elevation, it is really unclear that, what you're looking at here on the right hand side is an addition that becomes almost flush with the front of the house. What you're looking at on the left hand side is that nice. So, I just wanted to give you a little background on the staff findings and recommended motion, but it's a little complicated. We've gone back and forth. If the applicant does not, and this is through direction from our planning director, if the applicant does not or cannot make any of the modifications to what's being proposed, then you may alter the motion that I crafted, recommended motion, and you can either deny this with recommendations to BOA and approve this with recommendations to BOA. If you choose to award it. If you deny it, that does not necessarily mean that BOA will deny it. But again, we continue to make decisions based upon our industry guidelines. And the applicant will have to chat with us. All staff findings. Staff finds that the full set of alterations presented within major adjustment application CL 0137 to state and include an existing 4 to 5 feet dimensions from the north side property line instead of the required 10 feet. For RN2 zone district is inconsistent as proposed with the alternative criteria for approval for historic structures for a major adjustment. Staff finds that a slight modification for made to the criteria for approval due to section 72E to A, the modification for work proposed within Project PL 2023-0137, not requiring a major adjustment, but considered to meet all findings under the criteria for approval prior to building permit issuance. In this major adjustment application, PL 2023-0137, and in those photos, support by the inches for the north side property line, for the rear side 10 feet for the RMC zone district, would be consistent with the alternative criteria for approval for the short substance for major adjustment. And we have my block ordinance, which is the historic preservation commission approved with conditions. PL 2023-0137, and major adjustments to expand and enclose an existing porch 5 to 10 inches from the north side property line, synthetically requires 10 feet for the RSC zone district of 862 Street, and formally recommend the Board of Adjustment approve PL 2023-0137 with the conditions for approval as follows. The applicant and owner will work to address the modifications as in the staff analysis under CDC section 718(a) and implement those modifications prior to building. Again, that reworded and reworked by you all, but the goal here was to provide that opportunity to have the applicant work with us, maybe a few minor changes to the community, such as eligibility was so according to our CDC and the federal government and the state, I determine the eligibility. So how it's been done in the past with Erica, where she's bringing topics up at the same time as public hearing, is actually not so bueno. Yeah, and so eligibility for this was determined, No.
Okay, so, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, so you have alteration to the demolition, so like. Now, so, talking about city 101, a long time ago. Is that an oversight entity that's happy for our adoption?
Yes, so, because the Board of Adjustment, anytime you meet our building standards or you have variance or something, those approvals go to the Board of Adjustment, right? So they're adjusting our code. And currently, they're asking for a pretty minor-ish, adjustment to the north side setback. And because they determined their home was in historic structure, they're going to the alternative criteria for approval from major adjustments. Major adjustments occur when you're expanding a legal non-conformity. And so there's a minor adjustment. And there are two other opportunities for alternative criteria for approval. One is the sign, just because it's so different, right? And then the other is for properties within our floodplain. So, what is the name we want? And so it wouldn't, we felt that procedurally moving forward, all of us, it would make sense for these projects to come to be for formal recommendation for BOA first. And then let's say we approve the BOA approves the project, and when it comes back for a building permit, I can administer this approve that. Then we run back to the right? If you guys deny the project and BOA approves the project, when it comes back to building permit, I have to administer this based on how our code.
We're ready.
Oh, I think we're ready to.
Please come up, I can work the report if I didn't check. Who you are and a little bit about how they can work with.
State your address for staff.
Yeah, yep. What a long night, huh? Yeah, my name is Michael Woodbridge, and this is my wife Jenny, and we live at 868 Yonite Street. Jenny and I respect the importance of historic preservation, as you'll see. We retained as much character as possible before even hearing that we were going to have to go through this HPC process. We bought our home in 2021 when my job brought us here. We bought our home knowing that we were going to have to make changes because the porch was already rotten and unsound with a large hole. Yes, it was that kind of housing market when we moved here, that we were willing to buy a house with a hole in the porch. And the porch does not go into the outside. The porch, that front porch goes down into the garage. So, but we were desperate because the housing market was crazy. We weren't as lucky as Andrew, the previous applicant. We didn't get a rock bottom price for a rundown house. We paid top dollar for a rundown house, actually. So we bought it in 21, and soon after we had a structural engineer look at the porch so that we could fix it. Our goal was to fix the front porch so you could walk on it safely. There's a hole in it in one place near the door, and the whole rest of it is soft and new. So we were told that it had no support joists underneath, and because it goes right into the garage, there's no room. You can see a picture. This is the garage here, the ceiling. So that's what you're looking at when you look in the ceiling at the roof of the ceiling of the garage. That's the bottom of the deck. There are no joists. It's just like 1x2 boards pressed together. They're all rotten. So the structural engineer let us know that the deck needs to be raised 10 inches at least higher to be rebuilt correctly. This would require the railing, the stairs, the concrete landing, and the roof all to be changed on that front porch area. Because of this domino effect this would cause, we realized that it was going to be a significant project to bring it up to code and make it structurally sound and safe. We chose to spend significant money on a professionally planned remodel to tie the porch garage area into the rest of the house in a comprehensive and coordinated plan. So we hired SEAD, Steamboat Engineering Design, and a designer, an interior designer to help as well. Again, just repairing the rotten porch is not possible, or we would have done that 2 years ago. We are civil servants in this town. My wife's a public school teacher, and I'm a government employee. We've chosen to live here and raise our family here. And we're investing in this community. Like others in this town, with the high cost of living, we're barely holding on. For permanent residents, this is our only home. We're not second homeowners. We don't do short-term rentals. We're on a budget trying to make this house safe and functional while maintaining its overall appearance and charm. We spent all of our savings to buy this house, never knowing that there would be these limitations on making it work for our family. This house has been modified from its original design for the majority of its life. With the dining room bumped out, which you saw in the picture on the right-hand side, the south end of the house, that existed when we bought this house. The porch and the garage addition and the bedroom addition on the backside, all of that has been added to this house. Our plans help to tie together the various additions and modifications that have already been added to this house. To halt this house at its historic point in 1968 is not possible. Instead, we want to show the stamp of time. The historical qualities of our home have been degraded and were compromised long ago, as our pictures demonstrate. This is our current deck floor. I put 3/4 inch plywood across the whole thing so that it wouldn't fall through it and so it wouldn't rot further, because snow comes in from that west side and rain and everything makes the whole thing rot further. We've already spent more than $20,000 on structural engineering evaluations and architectural plans to remedy this rotten front porch and give us a little more room inside this unique house. We never heard about our house being considered historic until last Thursday. The city staff report that shows that our home was deemed historically eligible, the city staff report shows that our home was deemed historically eligible in May of this year. It just happened. Just a few weeks ago. Our structural plans were already drafted at the beginning of this year, and Steamboat Engineering Design reached out to the city to start our approval process in April. We have everything lined up to begin work with the contractor, and if these issues set us back further, we'll be facing another 6 months of snow and water, making a hazardous porch and rotten garage ceiling even worse. Timing is of the essence for us because we are ready to go now after 2 years of research and drafting a way to fix this porch issue. I'm trying to wrap my head around all of this that I just found out last Thursday while fighting a wildfire down in Grand County, which I just drove 2 hours back today to be here at this meeting for. We appreciate our home and its historic charm. It's what drew us to this house and neighborhood. Our intentions are to keep it in the same style with its rectangular shape. What we're doing will still have a rectangular shape on this house. And a historic gabled roof. That's not changing either. And you'll see, I think Karen will show you a little more, but our plans retain that front gabled roof, but extend what you're seeing here on the right-hand side. That's that dining room bump out. It extends that further up the front, but not all the way so that you don't lose that gable roof design on there. That is why our addition on the south side of the home aligns with the current exterior wall to keep the house a rectangular shape, and our design shows we're preserving the angles and aesthetic of the front gabled roof, as well as the front porch roof line. It changes slightly in pitch, but it maintains that same asymmetrical shape. Just to note, the flat roof, and I'm sure Karen will talk more about it, but the flat roof is there because it's a Steamboat and it's the snowiest town along Winter Park in the state of Colorado. And we already have snow that falls off and piles on those stairs. And I have to come out the downstairs door and clear the area we can get up to the porch. So the flat roof was recommended by Steamboat Engineering Design as a way to safely be able to go in and out of our house without snow and ice falling down and porch on us. If we do not make these adjustments to make our house more functional and safe, we may not be able to live in it for much longer. If we have to sell this house, the next person who buys it very well may end up tearing it down and building a brand new construction, as has happened all around. Probably Mountain Modern Design, right? Again, we were only notified of this historic eligibility last Thursday, and this eligibility was determined in May, only 2 months ago, long after our plans were drafted. We cannot simply rebuild the rotten porch and garage ceiling as is. That's why we find ourselves here today. And we also do not have endless money to put into this effort. We acknowledge your recommendations and we'll look into them, but are finding that many of these recommendations in this report would cause unnecessary hardships. We hope to move forward as scheduled with our contractor and remain in this house that we care about, so we can continue to be active, contributing members of this community. Thank you for your consideration. Happy to answer questions.
Well, I know.
Absolutely, I completely agree. It's very much the same story as the previous application. Also, we spoke to a lot of points about the consideration for the design. And again, had I known previously about the historic preservation guidelines applying to this house, we might have done things differently. Given the situation where they have maxed out their budget, and we have also donated time to their project to keep it affordable. Right now, the suggested modifications of moving the new addition on the south side, even though it's two stories, it's it's not gonna be taller than the existing house, as you can see from the proposed plans. It was tying into that existing bump out on the south side of the house. So, this is coming from prior knowledge of the historic preservation guidelines relative to this house. But we did try to tie into that existing bump out, with that addition there. So that, the suggestions from, the planning staff to move to, which would meet the preservation guidelines, to move that addition to the back of the home. While I understand that they might preserve that character of the front a little more, the challenges that we're up against with that proposed move is that they wanted, the intention of that addition is to add livable space and the living room and dining room is at the front of the house, understandably so, if you're not walking into your bedrooms at the front. So if we were to add that addition on the back of the house, it's not adding the living room where you want it. It's not extending that space. It's also, enclosing the porch is also providing them a mudroom, which, as you are probably familiar, is a very critical component in this town, of having, with a family, having a place for your gear. And so that's the reason that these items were sought for this design. Like the challenges with putting it on the back, it could be done, but it would require an entire remodel of the interior to reorganize the location of the bedroom and the kitchen. Right now, all this is doing, this was meant to be a modest addition so that it's minimizing the amount of renovation to it. So if they were to have to remodel the interior, it's not just the interior. I mean, it's a domino effect. It could affect the thermal insulation based on the building department codes. Anytime you're doing a remodel of that nature, you have to upgrade the windows, the insulation, the electrical, plumbing, and possibly the structure. If we were to turn it into if we were to open up some structure that needed to be enhanced. Right now, because we're not touching that existing structure, we're able to keep it of the existing, that gable roof. And the architectural features that were listed in the report and that Caitlin helped us recognize of the original house are the rectangular shape and the gable and roof, which, as you can see, even though this isn't in 3D, it's still very similar. So I guess the point I'm getting at is, with the adjustments that that staff has asked us to consider, the south addition would blow the budget. It's not feasible for this project to gain that space into the living room. The adding windows to make the porch feel like it's still a porch, I think could possibly be entertained. And more windows, absolutely, and try and preserve that character. And we really appreciate, Caitlin, that you brought some items to the table for the design considerations to also preserve the historic nature at this stage in the game, where it's already been designed. And then, as Michael addressed, obviously the safety of the porch, that needs to be addressed regardless. And it is, like you said, a domino effect. So that's the other advantage of enclosing that porch. Also in the building code, the main egress door is a very important part of the structure for the life safety of the occupants. And that also ties into the door on covering the porch door, like he talked about. That could possibly be adjusted. You would need to go back to the drawing board a little bit to see if we can add snow guards above the new roof pitch that has the metal roof that's sliding over. We just need to make sure that the structure can handle it, or that we can upsize the structure to handle it if we do add snow guards. So that is a component we will have to analyze and get back to you on if that flat roof is unacceptable. And right now it looks flat. It's actually got a slight pitch that's pitching towards us in this direction, so that it's not pitching further snow and ice onto that stairwell. Yeah, I mean, I have a full report. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. I guess, and I think the other point here, when I was doing some research into the CDC and the historic preservation guidelines, there are other components that need to be addressed in the design, not just the outwardly aesthetics. So directly from the CDC section 100D, it states the purpose of the CDC is to achieve the following: promote the health, safety, convenience, aesthetics, and visual qualities, prosperity, and general welfare at present and future inhabitants of the city, and also to promote the adequate provision of affordable housing. And then in the historic preservation design guidelines, it lists reasons for the benefits of historic houses, including the construction quality, adaptability, livability and quality of life, environmental benefits, and economic benefits. And right now, those qualities can also be, they're not quite being met. Like the adaptability with the house as it stands now is pretty tight for this family. So that is why they're coming forward with this proposal to extend the room, give them a little more room. Their safety and economic, and that's why I'm suggesting not moving the addition to the back of the house, is because right now this is the most affordable way to obtain the space where they want it. Again, I am very enlightened by this meeting. I'm grateful for all the work that you guys have done. I'm grateful for your information here and for your guidance. And these are our humble owners here with just a local family. I believe that they're proposing to renovate this house because it's currently not meeting their needs economically, functionally, or safely. So, any questions?
Something else.
Yeah.
So, the whole reason we need a major adjustment, is our house is pushed up against the lot line. We're already into the setback. And gotta.
Thank you.
Already,
No, I'm glad you brought this. A major
already
adjustment.
has a approval.
Oh, yeah,
right?
it is legally non-conforming.
It's legally non-conforming. So if we didn't do anything, because Karen said, hey, well, if you, on that far left side there, this is in the picture, that's the side where it's setback. If you don't do anything to that porch other than just turn it into a waterproof surface, within that setback, you don't even have to go through this process. You can just move forward, you don't need to make it adjustment. I don't think you guys want that. We certainly don't want that. It would look horrible. Nobody would be happy. So we're going through this process, trying to get appropriate.
Michael, I'm glad you brought that up. That is one of my points too, is that there is a conflict in the CDC right now in the design code, in that when they talk about legal non-conforming structures, let me read to you what the code says.
It's okay, we're not the BLA.
Oh, sure, that's true.
So,
Yeah,
we get it. Like,
yeah,
it's like the building was there before the lines were done. Oh.
exactly.
Everybody downtown and Park places have to.
Right, right.
Anyway, the way things happen chronologically, is people build homes and then years later, it becomes the government oversight, so they screw property lines. So we get it.
The point there is that, I mean, we're going through this process, you know,
Yeah.
right, but even without these in the line, we understand. But we're like everybody else that we've heard from. But we didn't know about any of the requirements, and we didn't know at this point for our case until Thursday, and then it was going to be done in May, after we already had all this done. So even without knowing, you know, any of this guidance on historic character and guidelines you guys have, I think we're pretty darn close to making as much as we can. We were doing that without being told that.
Okay, thank you. Where to get? Or online for public comment. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I always do it. Yeah. I would like to recap because I was chairman and director and I stated this, but again, if it is financially acceptable to make those changes, we can still deny this if you agree with that motion and it doesn't meet the second. And it will be up to BOA to approve or deny it. If BOA denies the project, they may still move forward. They can send back a small portion of the court. And to fit within our zoning districts and zoning standards, everything else about this project meets the zone requirements. The addition to it. It would come back to us as a building permit stage, in which I would then have to approve the permit, even though we've already denied it, because that is the way that our lovely works. And I too only found out about this last Tuesday. So just a reminder for like how much change we're realizing internally. The first time I went to BOA with this, when we decided that we were going to be recognized as another code, was on June 22nd. So I didn't find out about this until last Tuesday. Yep. Right.
Not assuming everyone should know that if you.
Right. And I did first comment on this, stating that it was eligible on 5/30. Unfortunately, it's just the way things are going to be. Like we're actively seeking new studies, so that we're not acting in a reactionary way. But in the meantime, there will be some structures that this would happen to. Strictly because it's time. So we would have caught it, but we caught it extra early. It's bound to happen. Oh, there is another option. We have amazing tax credits. Granted, it's probably going to be more than maybe your prices will hold up if you want to go a different route. I should tell you about that route would be if it has been eligible. Depending on the local legislature. Legislature is make you eligible for major allow you yearly share with the design. By being on the local legislature to finish your work, but get as much as 35% dollars. Not in say $1 million. 85% is giving you more than what you pay so far for the no, not at all. You would come to us and you would hope to keep the most dedicated on you. Again, with all the changes you want inside, still before you install. We will follow all that. Some of those
No, thank you for bringing it up. That's important. Information. I think it's good with it.
Yeah, I think everyone is ready to have.
We're in. Yeah, okay. We're in it. There's, no public, we're not asking them questions. Yeah, sorry.
Any questions?
Of course, and no, thank you for the presentation, and I'm gonna say, like, after the previous experience we've had, it's nice to see that, it seems as if you already had this in mind without having the local government and community tell you to do this. And so, I'm growing more and more adopted with Mount Children and Mount Modern, so, and I see, like, there's very little tweaks to be done to actually have it qualified all the way through on the local register. Now, be that as it may, I don't know, I find it really refreshing when people appreciate what's already there and then enhance. And so the minor tweaks would be to just kind of make sure that the historic portion stands out. That's upward. Yeah, I personally feel this is a nice design. How to approach it. Again, found out. Yeah. Yeah, no, and,
I think that everything's stable. I feel like. Some of these boards, without the quality. You mentioned communication features. That isn't that what is going to be ratified. Yeah. So in my opinion, we lost the mapping, scale, proportions, you don't have to say overhang. I don't get where Sean stayed. I'm not, I look at this and I'm seeing 19 existing, and I'm seeing 1949, I'm seeing 1958. I look at that, is that 1982, is that 2023, is that, what, there's, the fenestration don't have rhyme and reason to my side, mapping, scale, proportion, and visual quality, the geometry, proportions, the spaces, the soffit, the hand in line, we talk often about holding the horizontal lines of fascia of the rail. So what makes it charming? What makes it charming is the torque. What makes it charming is the sensors front door over the garage, right? And that, this is kind of play with these windows that slide back and forth. And this overall composition, these super roof overhangs on all property. And I look at this image and I would use that to drive up the Ammonite Street and see it go from one to the other. From an aesthetic perspective, I think a lot has been lost. And that because I do see 1949, I do see 1983, and I don't, the visual quality of what our code looks for on the street facing features, I feel like is not been addressed on a number of over. Yes, yeah. We're aware of the historically also.
No, we weren't. We found out last Thursday, that's when we found out.
We've never had any.
Put on the, the eligible.
They used to be coming out before us. We've
No,
never
we
had
didn't,
any.
no. I learned from this staff report that it was deemed eligible in May, kind of May 30th. So, even one time that I was, but we never got any kind of notification of any sort of eligibility.
Okay, thank you. I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just, I just don't think it's This is how I feel. No, I know, I feel like sometimes we, we get really, really, but I'm sorry, that's, whatever, however that can be, that's how and I get that, so, yeah. So, I'm not, I think. Oh, yeah, clearly, clearly, yeah, I'm saying, yeah, I think that's what you're saying, that if, that you're not seeing, when you first put it in the comment, somebody solved the problem. Somebody solved the problem, okay, somebody solved that was, I think that's really. Yeah, and I think my point, what kind of, I take issue with is the issues in Caitlin's report, where she's really trying to say, I'm going to be really clear with what I mean by holding some proportion, holding something with scale, holding some scale line, holding some penetration, and opening some doors. So she's not being led in her recommendation on the how and how to say, and I don't see that there's a great cost in penetration reorganization. Oh, it's in the door. Yeah, right, yeah, I did, I did. And so, yeah, any kind of opening in the wall. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I would say there was somebody that said that is a hardship, looking at what. My discussion, my, so, but I just don't want to hold my. It wasn't designed. While they were on their own. And they yes, so you're not looking at. However, our CDC doesn't have to do it. All of us, every building that is on the farm is supposed to do it. So, no, I totally agree, but I just want to make the point that even if you know that it's the wrong project, as you go to, especially in downtown, when people are walking by in the stores, and I'm like, I just think you can keep the program, keep the square footage and the functionality, while taking into account some of the elements yes, are part of the 50-year situation, but also be part of basic home. It's not today's design, but yes, picture. I'm missing this design, the proposed design, but they don't just want to design that. I would say that my initial thought is that it does not reflect the sort of education. And my second thought is that the exclusion that just learned that this is historic, I would say, okay, fine, but there's the guidelines that we have here. And it's in a book and it's got bullets and pictures. So I just, if we're in a house that's out on 35 acres, I think, in my opinion, sitting on a committee, that we don't have the same responsibility as we do when we're looking at downtown homes. That it comes to the human scale and the local scale. So, yeah, when you think that yeah, we do. And that's, I don't. I think that the front porch across the house is lovely. I think the front door centered on the garage doors makes sense. I think the scale and the type of window and, but I would argue that there are, you could actually make a list of different things. I could make a list of physical elements that tie into our code. The what we're looking for and, historical preservation. So I'm not saying that anyone needs to go anyway, but I just think it's been one of the.
I appreciate that detail. I will say that I do feel that it might be even things that might be other than things. Zero. So I think what's the difference? Some of our some retained and minor could in it.
You intend to keep the things like color and
Yeah.
style, and style of watching. So I don't think what we all probably want to do on for the applicant for feedback is, it really is the west elevation, right? While there are significant changes to the north and south, I don't believe in that we have to. It really is just almost like have feedback on. So I can take that with you. So what we need to do is determine if we approve this recommendation to the DOA Board of Adjustment or deny, and then they're gonna read what we put together. And their opportunity. I think there is a lot of feedback that happens. And I think that a few small changes, if you're amenable to it, it could really go a long way about how you. I agree with Sally. Is the roof overhang, is moving the porch, is keeping the size of the opening, or as when they do it, provide how the windows would look on the porch enclosure addition. But I don't know what else to call it. Right now, the enclosed porch has the white siding that comes down. I think it's evident. I think it's porch. Whatever that is called.
You like a unibrow?
Yeah, it's a unibrow over. But I think there are things that you can, the applicant can do to sort of keep that character the coming future by conditioning it in the material. So instead of just putting it like vinyl siding that's all running horizontal, you can make the 1968 edition stand out to the 1949 edition, like flipping siding or creating the white part inside it. So I think there might be something like that. I really think that's snow. So I don't have a huge issue with putting the buffers over it. Even that. That's just like. Yes, we're the historic commission, so we're looking at it only with historic. Standards and our local guidelines. Especially when we're recommending motion for us. Yeah, I completely agree. I think you're right about the flat roof over the stair, that I absolutely. Yeah, like, maybe if we were making recommendations on a local legal state, we might just say it more closely. If on we go, just like the state, there's gonna be an idea, but I think it's kind of. Yeah,
Ignore it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we have to give advice. I mean, that's where I want to know, right? Because it's, yeah, no, exactly. But I just think,
so, can we put up a motion? It's a little bit, so confusing.
Okay. May I see?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna run us through this really fast, so we can stop simpler, then we'll spin it down. Okay. Okay, so this motion is drafted based upon what the requirements are for major adjustments, right? So that's where you guys are getting all the jibble jabble in the first paragraph, right? So let's move to the second paragraph. This is what I think you might want to work to modify, because as this is stated right here, it says that the applicant and owner will work to adjust the suggested modifications. What I'm hearing you say is that it might read better if it says the applicant and owner will work to address the porch enclosures as stated in the staff analysis under C section, blah, blah, blah. And we could add the word work to implement those modifications. That way it's not as sharp, but it would be a good way to please work with us, right? And then what you're basically saying in the double jabber paragraph of it is that you're approving this with that condition, and you're also recommending to the Board of Adjustment that they approve it with that condition. Or that they approve it knowing that you've approved it with this condition. Yeah. Is that simplified enough? It is. I'm formulating the question. Yeah. So I think it is, here's what I did, yes, I think I'm going to have to start to say, we're having that, but we're having that was not, but that was contradicted, that was okay. Then I reviewed the, really sorry to you. And so, and I'm looking for exceptions, so I'm not sure about that.
Well,
Or is that
no.
I think that's what we vote on the motion.
Well, I think that's our, I mean, like, I think you put it in language that. Yeah. So I feel like the owner and the engineer want to take our suggested modifications as indicated in the analysis that we're getting for and modified by after the session. I still feel like that in my opinion, because all we want to do in this process is say, you came to us and here's some suggestions that we have. And so that's what the whole thing is. And next time, you know, like, yeah, this is okay, you know, so this is supposed to be. Yes, and I'm just really unsure about what we want to do. Why I felt like I was on board, and so I'm just not sure what to do with it. But what to do with that.
I think it may be time to re-clarify with the applicant and the owner if they are amenable to working with us on the illustration and window openings and maybe retaining some details from the front porch. Because that is even if it's, unless we retract the motion where it's just like, it's the architect. So that's the question.
The planning director suggested that a good question. Not only the applicant, but like this.
I mean, this is
have a motion that's drafted. But basically, we don't want to make them do something that we don't have necessarily the regulatory authority to make them do. Right, no, if we know the sections of the code that talk specifically about here, there's defining features and front board, yeah. But I feel like we met that, I'm saying along my word, we met that requirement of having we have to make a motion and we have to make a recommendation. So, can you choose this implementation of approval for a recommendation? Number one. I like it. So we can, let's do that. We'll change the word condition to recommendation. And then under number one, you can say more specific. The full staff report. The full staff report deals with the property, without elevation. So we'll have to look at that. Oh, let's just put that in what our west elevation portion will do. Kind of that's the elevation are. I would love it if what you should say was, so just so that they should flip to those pages, C and C, when they just sketches the idea. So that's how they move forward with their next one. They have now. Well, if we're not requiring, if we're just suggesting, right? So we're not saying it's a condition, we're saying, I would like to be, when they walk out of here, I'd like people to have like, if I look at this section of the code, then that 4-hour meeting that I'm mumbo jumbo in my head, I'm gonna look at this section of the code like they asked me to. That's not what they want. Why don't we just say that they reference the chapter on 14 and not historic designation, I'm sorry, guidelines, I'm not entirely. Okay, in our historic design guidelines. Perfect, okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. It's 14. In our historic design guidelines, it's a chapter on 14. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And I believe I already sent these back. I may have referenced it. Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. Does that mean like, okay, then we put wrong? Yeah, I think it's just the. Okay. So there's the reason for this, 2023 017. Major adjustments. And includes the district court, 589 from the north property, or south property line, instead of the required 2 feet for the R. 868 South Ninth Street, and formally recommends the Board of Adjustment approve PL 23-0137 with recommendation for approval as follows. The applicant and owner will work to address the just conservation as stated in the staff analysis of section 718(2)(a). Work to implement HPP staff recommendations for modifications on west elevation, on the west elevation porch and opening. Prior for modifications prior to building. And to reference the porches chapter and to reference for the outcome. Didn't even follow. Oh, I get second. I'm sorry, we need a resolution. Discussion on the motion. So then. Vote on the motion on the table. So you, yeah, was sworn in, but I think Janet is hypothetically replacing Jim. Making Jim vote when we don't have a quorum, but we have a quorum. So you're supposed to take everything Janet says into consideration for the bill, and she is still allowed to make comments based upon it and the. I have never understood that. Robert's rule or what? We have an alternate, we're the only commission that has an alternate, and I don't know anyway. Would you like to say something that not so? Yeah, we got, I didn't expect. I hear she probably didn't say that, but I was happy to hear that. I also enjoyed. Exactly, all of those for that. Which means that. And thank you to the applicant, Karen, and so we look forward to working with you. And I've been working with Karen on kind of interpreting our code and what that means, and there's a lot of wiggle room. So we can walk through that with you. Right. Yeah, no, yeah, like totally at all, even if like there's like wiggle room with like the building department, like even if you want to like start from the vision, but like we're still figuring out the details for. The fascia or something, like there is barely. Yeah, you know. So thank you. We got our work like and with that, I'm going to run through my staff update. Yeah, please take a week home. Yeah. Thank you. Everyone knows the agenda is one week. Moving buildings, demolition, we have goals. We have goals. We'll talk about it again. Welcome, Janet. Welcome, Molly. Not here. Congratulations, Sally and Mary Ann, for your reappointment. These are really long updates. I'm going to give you the short version. So we're hosting a workshop on tax credit on 7/25. We're going to be inviting the rest of our neighboring communities, like Trembling and whatnot. I might ask you guys to share the information of your network. It would be great to get as many people there as possible, like community members with historic homes, even if they're like outside the city limits, architects, designers, builders. Patrick, we did. Yeah. And the gal who does it is like so super bubbly and nice and like makes reservations and down. Yeah, it'll be available to you and in person. Here. Yeah. From what I remember, just to transfer. It was three. So I'm going to keep running through these. We are pushing the kickoff from our education, engagement, and outreach strategy, which is it'll be federally funded grants, so we can avoid all of this and do it better together, right? From this month to August, if we're running slow on contracting.
We're still waiting to go under contract with our intergovernmental agreement to create our first ever historical preservation plan and to update our existing historic design guidelines to account for homes outside of downtown and provide some recommendations for some regulatory changes. Last one said, last one doing Oh, yes, I met with the HOA for Carmen and they're like kind of interested in sort of designating the whole property. And they're waiting on me to, totally everyone can see that. Where'd you go? Yeah, I think it was, look at that, anyway. So I. Okay. I opened for additional information about historical designations. We asked all the right questions. Who was really interested in like the financial aspect of it, like, you know, they need to redo their windows. They want that money. Yeah. I think we did put on board adjustments pretty well. And we have requested a significant amount of money for the community house rehabilitation in Little Creek Park. We pushed back the timeline a little from 2024 construction to 2025 construction to not have like 3 overlapping state historical park grants. And to also like state contractor. Yeah, big work. And then, yeah. And then also I would like to go to the board of adjustment and get them to basically reapprove, lifting it an additional 1.5 feet. Initially did the design work for that. It was going to go to 6 inches, and there are National Park Services guidelines on what is asking for rehabilitating historic buildings that recommend 2 feet, and that is also our legislative standard. Are there any objections to my written? No. No. We had a super big win for the lady. Nice job. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. All it took was a suggestion. That they didn't have to be, right? You will have another major adjustment coming up. This is a super rare A-frame house that has a deteriorating window. And I've done a ton of research on A-frames and qualified as a modified A-frame, meaning it has an extension on the side of it. And they're building an addition that no matter about the garage. But they're really kind of maintaining all the character time and features. So, yeah. And again, I think you're now aware that you are reviewing things before they go. We are. So for the other. Yeah, that was going to recommend. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yours yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you for your time. Okay. But also, I think I don't remember when we met. We had a meeting, but the one who we met about was really but I don't read those. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have exactly. I was there with you. I have a calendar coming. And then like, I know that big. And I don't, it's like, I don't wanna be like, defensive, but I want people to be like accurate and like what. Okay, it would have to make, yeah. I make a motion that we. I just did. Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we do the minutes of the meeting. That's okay. Well, and the end is well. I would like. I'd like to make a motion that we. Okay, that's. All in favor? I'd like to make a motion. Okay, thank you. So then I still feel whatever. Yeah, I wasn't, you like, no, totally, that's how it. And Chris, I wasn't trying. I would normally do that, I was trying to. But I don't have to be personal, I'm like, oh my gosh. No, okay. Yeah. I made a big talk, that's really cool. Careful. Go for it,
Yeah, I don't think much can do that.
Although you did your closing. The meeting is closed at 8:30.